From the NRA to NPR. This next story comes to us from NPR. Interesting. Posted found a link to this. Posted a link to this on the Facebook page. Meet Brandon Bryant. Brandon Bryant. This is Brandon Bryant. He is a former drone operator from his time in the Air Force, and he no longer operates drones, which is a good thing. And he is one of very, very, very few, to the best of my knowledge, this is the first former drone operator to come out and actually expose a little bit, talk a little bit about behind the scenes of what it's like to do this. And this whole, I think the biggest takeaway from this is the whole talking point of, well, these guys are operating drones and they're not actually men on the ground. They're not actually boots on the ground. And so these guys, they're just fine. They're not going to have PTSD at all. They're not going to have any post-traumatic stress. It's just like video games. It's just fine. First of all, even if that's true, the desensitizing to war is legalized mass murder. That is horrible. I can't even conjugate articulation to describe how horrible I think that is. But don't kid yourself. Drones, operating drones and killing people, especially when you see, well, let me don't give it all away real quick. Let's go through this. Here's clip one, setting up the topic here. And I think this is a really interesting comment on the behalf of the NPR host here. Listen to this.
This is Morning Edition from NPR News. I'm David Green.
And I'm Steve Inskeep. Let's hear another voice in the debate over drone strikes. NPR's Kelly McEvers has been to parts of Yemen where those drones have struck. She found that while they do hit their targets, they often kill more civilians than officials claim. And relatives of the victims sometimes join al-Qaeda in revenge.
Well, imagine that. You mean sometimes flying killer robots that shoot missiles miles and miles and miles away sometimes hit their target and everything in a 20-foot radius, 30-foot radius. And if that just happens to mean that there's innocent people there, well, sorry, but, you know, we got the bad guy, right? And we took out 12 other innocent people, really? And then you just empathy, put yourself in the shoes of, wow, my village just got blown up by some invisible drone bomb thing, and I just lost my best friend and his brother and sister and, you know, my cousin and whoever, and, you know, the village cook or whoever, what, you know, it's, oh, no wonder they might get angry or not like that or who knows what, right? So, again, we're the best. No one hates us. We're perfect. Look in the mirror. Anyways, back to this and back to Brandon Bryant, the 27-year-old former drone operator who really is the story here.
On our program Weekends on All Things Considered, Kelly interviewed a former Air Force pilot who operated these drones for 5 years. It really is a side of the story that we rarely hear, and Kelly joins us to tell us about that. Hi, Kelly.
Hey there.
So tell us about this pilot who we're going to hear from in a moment, and tell me how you found him.
His name is Brandon Bryant. He's 27 years old. He actually operated drones for several years, so he started when he was pretty young. He lives in Montana. We first read about him in an article that ran in a German magazine called Der Spiegel. He was interviewed along with some other drone operators. And, you know, most of these people, by and large, are people who go to work on American bases, you know, usually somewhere out west, Nevada, something like that. And they do their job, they do their shift, and then they come home. What was clear about this article was that Brandon was a little bit different. He had seen a lot in his time as a drone operator, and that he was very outspoken about it.
And I am going to go on a limb and say this is a good thing because he is one of the very few, as far as, like I said, I know, the first to come out and really say, hey, I used to be a drone operator. This is what's going on. And listen to this story. Here in this next clip, Brandon describes his very first drone, shooting, engaged in actually killing people in his first drone attack here. Listen to the details here.
His first shot, he was sitting in this trailer and there were some insurgents on a hill who'd been firing at U.S. soldiers. There were another group of insurgents who weren't firing, but he was ordered to actually fire a missile on them. Here's how he describes it.
We fired the missile, and 1.2 seconds after the missile fires, it sonic booms. And so the sonic boom gets there before the missile does, and the guy in the rear hears this, and he runs forward to the two guys in front, and then the missile hits. And after the smoke clears, there's a crater there. You can see body parts of the people, but the guy that was running from the rear to the front, his left leg had been taken off above the knee, and I watched him bleed out. The blood rapidly cooled to become the same color as the ground because we're watching this in infrared. And then I eventually watched the guy become the same color as the ground that he died on.
Think about that. He's watching this infrared heat map. It's not like you're looking through the camera at what you would normally look at through a camera, for instance. This is a heat wave map, meaning the only thing you see is different colors, and the different colors represent how warm and how cold things are. And he's describing, after firing this shot, and the shot kills these guys, the guy's heat, because remember, we're 98.7 degrees ish, almost 100 degrees. We're kind of warm internally. This guy is literally bleeding out, and he's describing watching the thermal map of this as the person changes color to the same color as the ground all around him. Think about that. Okay, now, the life of a drone operator, right? Again, this is from NPR, npr.org. Back to Brandon Bryant. I don't think these guys were armed. I think we jumped the gun on this one.
This is the point when he really starts to have some regrets about what he's doing. I asked him, if he reported what he saw and the fact that he didn't think that the people he targeted had sort of violent intent. And here's what he said.
In my own mind, I thought these guys could have been local people that had to protect themselves. And I think we jumped the gun.
Wow. And the next clip, describing the second attack, right before the missile gets there, he sees something on the camera. So it's he fires, and then, of course, between fire and, explosion, there's a couple of seconds because the drones are miles and miles away, and this is the whole point of the drones, is there's no people on the ground because there's that way there's no PTSD anymore, and we're actually not, losing casualties and these kinds of things. We're just sending robots around to blow things up, right? And it's a totally good thing, right? Right before he pushes the button fire, and then right before it blows up, he sees something and goes, "Oh shit!"
His very next shot was also in Afghanistan. He and his colleagues had been watching this house where suspected militants reportedly lived, and let him tell the story.
There was supposedly 3 people left in the building, and all were military males. We just aim at the corner of the building, we're going to fire. And we do, and there's about 6 seconds left before the missile impacts, and something runs around the corner of the building, and it looked like a small person. There's no other way for me to describe it. It was a small 2-legged person, and missile hits, there's no sign of this person. The large portion of the building's collapsed, so we lock our camera on there, and I asked the screener who disseminates the video feed, I asked, can you review that? What was that thing that ran on the screen? And he's 1 second reviewing, and comes back and says, "Oh, that was a dog." It was a person. It was a small person. It was no doubt in my mind that was not an adult.
Oh, it's just a dog. Right. How would that make you feel?
Well, I mean, he said that after he took that shot, he basically walked out of the trailer where he was working and then walked into Nevada, and it really hit him.
The sun was coming over the mountains. I remember just kind of, the light was too bright and the dark places were too dark. I felt really numb. I didn't feel distraught like I felt my first shot. I felt numb because this was the reality of war. That good guys can die, bad guys can die, and innocents can die as well.
Let me tell you, I'll read a couple of things from the chat room real quick. Will from Chicago in the chat room mentions, by the way, it's 98.6 degrees, right? Duh. Should have known that from the band, 98. Anyways, Will also mentions, we have tried to depersonalize war, sanitize it. And think about, why would we have to depersonalize war? Why would we have to sanitize something? Probably because it's a little dirty, you think? I'm totally with you, Will. And Snork Y2K mentions, I like dogs. Yeah, small person, little baby, dog, whatever. Why are you trying to kill them when you could go through what used to be, the justice system that we put so much faith into, and the justice system is so fantastic and all these good things about the justice system. You could have just went there and got him via the local governments or whatever, but nah, can't do that. We'll just bomb the shit out of these villages from afar. I am a total dog person, by the way. I have nothing against cats. I love cats to death. Don't get me wrong. I am a dog person. I love dogs. And so Piggy knows that. She's my 13, almost 14-year-old black lab. And so she knows how much we love dogs. Anyways, I gotta, see, this is such a hard topic to get real serious about. And so I shy away from getting too serious about, but I laugh a little bit because it's so deep and dark and really scary. To me, operating drones in warfare. Think about, put yourself in this guy's shoes, Brandon Bryant, this former drone operator who's coming out and did this interview with NPR telling us, hey, this is kind of what it's like to be behind the scenes here. What do you think that would do to a person? Brandon, describes what it did to him, and this is what drove him to get out. And this, I think, is the most important clip here.
It was a while after this that he did finally decide to leave the program.
One day, it was late 2010, we had a wall that had 5 pictures on it of top Al-Qaeda leaders. And I remember walking in one day, and I kind of stopped and looked at one of these guys, and I was like, man, which one of these is going to die today? And I stopped myself, and I was like, that's not me. That's just not who I am. I don't think like that. I was taught to respect life, even if in the realities of war that we have to take it should be done with respect. And I wanted this guy to die. So I tried to talk to a couple people about it, and one of the weird things about the whole drone community is that you don't talk about anything that you've done. You just don't. So I just shut up and didn't talk to anyone about how I was feeling or how I was doing.
That's amazing. If you're watching the video right now, the live video stream on Ustream or on Spreecast or on YouTube on the podcast, you see the picture right there. That is a picture of Brandon in the lower right-hand corner during kind of and more closer to these events, obviously with with the shaved head, etc. in the Air Force as a drone operator. Look at him there. I mean, just look at that picture. Look at that face for a second, and then look at that face. Same person, completely different face. You see what I'm saying? I think the picture says it all too as well. And then for a final wrap up on this from the NPR host. Ugh. I was digging the interview, and then the guy says this. I'm like, oh, really?
Well, he did quit, and he's in college in Montana on the GI Bill. Things aren't going so well for him in other ways. I mean, he doesn't have a place to live right now.
He's homeless right now.
Basically, I mean, he says he's couch surfing. He's staying with friends. But yeah, he doesn't have his own place. He's also been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress. I mean, I think this is something we're realizing now can happen even if you haven't been on the battlefield.
Okay, well, this has been a window into one person who served in this drone program and in the U.S. military.
This is just one person. Oh, this is well. This has been just only one example of this, and let's move forward. Huh? What did Brandon say? Like the last clip just a second ago.
I try to talk to a couple people about it, and one of the weird things about the whole drone community is that you don't talk about anything that you've done. You just don't. So I just shut up and didn't talk to anyone about how I was feeling or how I was doing.
And let me play again what the NPR fellow had to say.
Basically, I mean, he says he's couch.
Oh wait, sorry. Here.
But
what?
He's also been diagnosed
Damn
on
it.
the battlefield.
Where is it? Here it is.
Okay, well, this has been a window into one.
Damn it. Okay, here we go.
Okay, well, this has been a window into one person who served in this drone program and in the U.S. military.
And one more time.
I try to talk to a couple people about it, and one of the weird things about the whole drone community is that you don't talk about anything that you've done. You just don't. So I just shut up and didn't talk to anyone about how I was feeling or how I was doing.